So it would take something bold and brash like that, I think. Desperate move, fair enough. A last throw of the dice, if you will. There's too many wets in there, too many Lib Dems in there. Let her get absolutely slaughtered in the locals in Scotland and in Wales, and then somebody might move against her.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing, and still returning guest is that Preston journalist. How are you doing, Ash?
Hi, Nick. Really good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Our last chat was about Labour, because that's our favourite topic. If it wasn't for bad luck, they'd have no luck at all. But if we want to talk about someone who's really unlucky, someone who takes over a political party at rock bottom and then keeps them there, let's talk about Kemi Badenoch and the Tories. Tories get wiped out 15 months ago. Kemi runs for leadership of the Tory party, wins, and since then she's done. Can I just check my notes a minute? Sorry about this, Ash. Yeah, she's done absolutely nothing. That's what I think she's done. Is that unfair?
No, not really. I don't. It's not unfair at all. She hasn't done anything. She's been a huge disappointment to me. As somebody who was a Tory member for about 15 years, I I don't think she's inept. I think she thought she had a lot more time to recover from a general election drubbing like they got than she actually had. You said it before on here. Nobody predicted the rise of reform like there has been that has put such pressure on the establishment to try and look after itself and try and keep themselves relevant. And yes, people want rid of the Labour Party really quickly. Their popularity dropped so badly. But at the same time, no one's listening to the Tories. And that is partly by her fault, by the way, because she hasn't really announced anything at all, any policies. She thought she had a couple of years to wait and then we'll announce some policies when people start listening to us again and stuff. But I'm afraid nothing's really gone right for her, and her performances at PMQs don't help. She's always a week behind. She lets Starmer off, really. Kemi had a good Prime Minister's questions the other week when it was actually her fault that Mandelson had to go in the end because even Labour weren't expecting Kemi to actually be up to date with the questions. But somebody had obviously told her that morning, right, this is the questions you're going to ask, even though we had something else planned because that's what they always seem to do. They seem to write down the questions a week earlier and they'll ask them the week after. So it really caught Starmer unawares that, and it was clever. And he had to then come out and back Mandelson 100%. And before you knew it, 24 hours later, Starmer's dreaded vote of confidence, Mandelson's gone. So she did well there, which probably explains why the Tories actually gained a point or two in quite a lot of different polls this week. But they've still got a major problem. I'm afraid that people aren't listening still. Yes, she did something right. And yeah, I agree with you, the Tory brand isn't completely dead yet, but it isn't going to get much better, I don't think, under this so-called leader. But then I don't see anybody on the right of politics. I'm starting to believe, like you, I'm starting to come around to the Generic idea. Maybe he has had this Damascene conversion and he's finally moved to the right of politics. And if he has, then good, because he's doing a good job of it. Or certainly talking the talk anyway. But even with people like him doing his job, I don't see him becoming Tory leader. There's too many wets in there, too many Lib Dems in there, and while those people are there, they're not going to vote for Genric. You'll end up with, I don't know, somebody in the left field, as the Tory party elections often are. You'll end up with somebody who is not on the right of politics, and things I think will only get worse for them.
The Tory party wants to win. All those Tory MPs want to retain their seats and want other Tory candidates to win their seats, and they want to be in power again. Of course they do. All parties want that to happen for their party. That's a given. So my question is, how long do those MPs and does Tory HQ, how long do they give Kemi? Because she's failing. The Tories are going nowhere. They're going, they're very slowly still going down in the polls. You think a failing Labour government would increase the Tory vote, even just slightly, but it's still going down. And all the attention is being given to Reform UK. So when does a Tory party say to themselves, right, this isn't working, we're going to lose even more seats the next election, we're giving all the airtime and all the space to win more seats. We're giving it all to Reform UK because they've got a charismatic leader, someone who can communicate, someone who can think on their feet. The Reform UK looking at what the people want and stealing ideas from them, then pretending we came up with it. And that's a great political trick if you get away with it, and Reform are getting away with it. When do the Tories go, we need to change, otherwise things are going to get worse of us? I can imagine them changing and electing a new leader, maybe James Cleverly, and that carries on failing. But eventually they have to go, we need to go to the right. When do you think that could possibly happen?
Well, under party rules, she's safe until November anyway, because that'll be 12 months. You're given 12 months grace under Tory party rules before anybody can challenge you. I'm not sure I see a challenge coming this year. It might be a similar scenario to the Labour Party, where they're going to wait till May, let her get absolutely slaughtered in the locals in Scotland and in Wales, and then somebody might move against her. You know, a while ago she said, "We've hit rock bottom now. The only way is up. We can rebuild." As you've just said, the polls don't bear that out. They are still dropping. I can't find a single poll that's got them over 18%, which is disastrous territory for the Tory party, obviously. Um, I, I, I can't see Kemi improving their fortunes at all. I just don't think anybody wants that job just yet. And if you, right, I've no doubt whatsoever you're right that James Cleverly will throw his hat into the ring. Of course he will. But if they put someone like James Cleverly in there, another Tory wet, he's not going to inspire anybody. I'm not saying he comes across as a nice enough bloke, but he is on the left of politics. He is not a conservative. He should be in the Lib Dems, and he is not going to take the Tory party back to where it needs to be. The only way, in my opinion, that the Tory party gets back up in the polling is, me and you said this a while ago now, big bold moves. You boot out anybody that isn't on your side. Anybody, for example, doesn't want to leave the ECHR, you say, right, get out. You're taking the whip away from you. She has literally nothing to lose. She could take the whip away from 30 or 40 MPs. She's got nothing anyway. So take the lot away and say, right, this is now a Conservative Party that is full of Conservatives. Yes, there's not that many of us, but we're all on the same page and we're all right of centre. And by the way, if she did something like that, something bold like that, it would make a lot of these people who feel like they can just do what the hell they want and disagree with her all the time, it would bring them into line as well. Because if they can't stand under the Tory party banner next time round, or the Labour Party banner next time round, or whatever it is, they're not going to win their seats as independents either. So they've basically lost their jobs for good. So it would take something bold and brash like that, I think. Desperate move, fair enough. A last throw of the dice, if you will. But that is something that could turn her fortunes around. And I think the electorate would like it as well. They'd say, wow, she takes no shit. Look at that. She's not messing around. She's booting her own MPs out because they won't do what she wants. I think that'd gain her a lot of respect. But I think we're past that point. And you said it, I think from the start, she was an interim leader. And it was an idea, I think, to keep anybody from the right of the party out. CCHQ is also firmly on the left of politics. They're not interested in proper conservative policies. And it's going to take a huge facelift for this Conservative Party to change. And they might have to even get smaller after the next election before they can rebuild. And that election's coming. So it might not take them that long, but they might go down. The latest polling showed them going down to 19 seats. I don't believe that will happen, by the way. I think they'll still get. They could drop down to sub 100 possibly if things go really badly. That's rock bottom. Then you can try and rebuild. This is going to be like a 10-year rebuild, I think, for the Conservatives because the whole fabric of the party is now geared towards woke left politics, and no one's going to vote for that.
No, I completely agree. No one wants that, and the Tories just seem to be too slow to realise that and to change. Now, something's happened to the Tories this week for the first time. A sitting Tory MP, a sitting one, not a former one, not one we've taken the whip off like Lee Anderson, a sitting MP who was seen and praised quite highly in the Tory party has defected to Reform. That is a shock. That'll be a shock to the Tory party because it's the first one. And so the question now is, now the gates have been blasted off the hinges for Tory MPs to walk across to Reform UK and be welcomed, are more going to follow?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I made a video on this. Reform have got to be so careful. They're already taking people that I don't think are any good, like Jake Berry, Nadine Dorries. These, like, for example, Reform say they're against the Online Safety Act. Who wrote the Online Safety Act? Nadine Dorries. Now she's in Reform. Jake Berry's a complete wet. He should be in the Lib Dems. He's in Reform. Danny Kruger is an improvement on those two. There's no doubt about it. He is a Conservative. He is on the right of politics. And he tried to convince Rishi Sunak to do a lot of things like mass deportations, etc. And they simply wouldn't listen to him. And he was cast aside and ignored. When Kemi came in, he was ignored for a shadow cabinet position. I think he got some junior ministerial position somewhere. But people were really surprised. He was one of the last names on the list that you'd have had to defect because he's quite eloquent. He's a good speaker. He's been seen as quite loyal. He's been in the Tory party a long time, and he was seen as a stalwart, possibly even somebody that could run for leader next time round. And I've seen him speak plenty of times. He is impressive. He does know what he's on about, and he's firmly on the right of politics. And I think he'll fit in really well. And I can't name any MPs that Reform should take, but there is a chance they will take more, unfortunately. And my video was centered around put yourselves in the shoes of a Reform UK activist that joined the party, even when it was in the doldrums and just polling at 2 or 3%. You were still going out there in all weathers. You were still delivering leaflets, working hard for the party. You've then stood in the local elections, managed to get yourself a council seat somewhere, whether that's a county council or a district council, whatever it may be. Then all of a sudden, the election's called. You pass the vetting, and you want to stand to be an MP because you've been with this party, you've worked your way through, you've worked hard for it. But then all of a sudden, some smacked ass Tory that's going to lose their seat decides they want to join Reform UK, but that's in your area, and they get selected over you. If I was that activist, I'd be pretty peed off at that, and that's what I see happening at the moment. These people are going to get selected. Surely they're not defecting for no reason. Don't worry about it, Danny. You're going to be our candidate in this area. So I've actually forgot where his constituency is, but wherever it is, those people in that area now have got no chance of being selected as the candidate for that seat because Danny Kruger's going to be it, and the same could happen with Nadine Dorries. Has she been promised? She was somewhere in Bedford, weren't she? She was the MP. She'll has she been promised a chance to be the candidate for that seat? Probably. Has Jake Berry been promised Rosendale, which is just outside of Blackburn? Has he been promised yet? You can stand in that seat because you've been the MP there before. Do you know what I'm saying? They're limiting the opportunities for new people. And what I want to see from reform is new people going into Parliament, not the same old dross that we've had for decades now that's old and stale and has done us no good anyway. Look at the country. These people haven't achieved the square root of Jack. We need new people going in there, not the same people with different coloured rosettes on.
And that has always been one of the complaints about Reform UK, that they're Tories 2.0. They're just a new Tory party. And they seem to be proving their dissenters right in this, because how are we going to fix the country with Reform UK when Reform UK are full of the people who brought the country in the first place? And people go, oh, but Nick, these people were ignored in the party and they were this and they were, I don't care. These are the people who broke the country.
They were ministers.
Yeah, exactly. Some ministers, former MPs, it's like, why? You're trying to come across as not the uni party, but you're filling your ranks with members from the uni party. They it looks like they're slowly turning into the uni party. I saw a meme from Labour the other day, and it was a Reform UK sticker on someone's breast, and they'd started peeling it, and underneath was the Tory tree, and it was like, yeah, that's what it's beginning to look like, and I think they're damaging their own brand.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Now, do you know what I'd accept? like Farage said, for example, it was actually quite honest. I didn't expect to hear this. Farage said we need people to come into the party because we need people that have been in government before because we don't know how to do it. We need people who know the way around the civil service, for example, who know how to navigate Westminster and stuff. And that I can accept. That's very honest, actually, in my opinion, to say we don't know what we're doing in government yet because we haven't been there, which is fair. But if he's going to say, right, I need someone like Danny Kruger or I need a Nadine Dorries to tell me what different departments are like, how to deal with civil servants, how to pass laws and that, fine. If you want them as advisors, I get that. That's fine. But you cannot become this refugee camp for failed Tories and just like you said, eventually they're just going to look like the Tory party. And especially if you're taking the wrong ones. I could have accepted a Suella Braverman going in there, a Jacob Rees-Mogg going in there, because these people are firmly on the right of politics. They probably would fit in Reform UK. They're the kind of people you want. Jacob Rees-Mogg's offered to be an advisor to Farage, and and there's no better person to have, to be quite honest with you. But I don't think he's willing to stand for them in a seat. He's actually going to stand. I think he's thinking of standing for the Tories again. So fair enough, he's staying loyal to his party. But Jacob Rees-Mogg would be a fantastic acquisition if you could get him into that party because he knows that Erskine made the rules of Parliament like the back of his hand.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of former politicians out there who are big beasts that reform could get on board, not to stand again, but as advisors to run departments, stuff like that. They're the people we need. We don't need failed current politicians, people who want to keep their seat. So, Liz Truss would be a good example. Maybe get Liz Truss on board and get some people from the Labour Party, some of their grandees who are sensible, get them on board and build a grand coalition that goes across all the parties and handpick the ones you want. But at the moment, it just seems like a dumping ground for failed Tories.
Yeah, I mean, you could get Kate Hoey. She's big friends with Nigel Farage. I don't know if she's a Labour MP or PA or an independent PA. I can't remember now. Claire Fox. She had quite the conversion from what a former communist or whatever to what she is now. She's very, very common sense lady. Get her on board. I'd be more than happy to see someone like that. Some people like them moving to Reform UK, and that gives them some representation inside the Lords as well, which they're definitely going to need. Otherwise, they won't be able to pass anything. But yeah, taking the wrong people is going to lead them down a bad, bad path, I'm afraid. There's plenty of people out there that have been MPs who would be willing, I think, to help out, especially with the salaries that come with it. Of course they would. They're definitely willing to get back into politics. This would never happen. But I think he could do a lot worse, Farage, than making peace with Dominic Cummings and getting him in as well. See if he can come in and be a bit of a wrecking ball and go through the civil service like he wanted to. I'm not saying I think his political skill is a bit overblown, actually, Cummins, but he does know what he's doing and he does know how to force things through, doesn't he? Even if it means annoying the rest of Parliament, like proroguing Parliament, like he did with Boris Johnson. But it worked. It got the election. They won that election and won a huge majority. So he does understand politics. He understands government. He doesn't like it, but he understands it. They're going to need people like this, but that doesn't mean you have to take failed politicians who've done no good. They've had their time, they've had their day now. Get rid of them. If you can get some great special advisors in there that know the system, that's what you need to do.
And the more reform do that, the more successful reform are. Because every time they take one of these MPs, they get a load of press, they go up in the polls, and they get really good attention from the press. There's a short-term benefit. I understand what Farage is doing. It's a short-term benefit, but it's long-term damage to the brand, if you ask me. But every time they're successful, every time they get a more positive headline, the damage to the Tory party continues. And we may get to a tipping point where other sitting Tory MPs go, I can see the writing on the wall here. I'm going to jump and maybe I will get to keep my seat at the next election. Because this is what happened in Canada. Nigel Farage took the name Reform UK from a breakaway party in Canada that killed the Tory party in Canada. They were called Reform. And he said on TV, that's why he named it Reform UK. So he's following a plan of what happened in Canada. And eventually, Reform in Canada and the Conservative Party in Canada merged under the Conservative umbrella. and became the Conservative Party. And I think deep down inside Farage, I think what he wants is a better Conservative Party. And I think he's going to deliver a better Conservative Party. My argument is we don't want a better Conservative Party anymore now. The system's broken. We need something new. He's developing the party we needed 30 years ago. We don't need a better Tory party today. We need something modern, better, forward thinking, and focused, not the Tories.
Yeah, he's fighting yesterday's battle in that way, isn't he? Because ever since, I don't know, Major, probably, the Tory party for me has been in steep decline. It's never been a Conservative party ever since John Major took over, and since then, we've just had basically Blairites, bureaucrats running this country, and they're no good, as you can see by the state of the country. So, yes, I don't think there's any common sense to trying to be the new Conservative Party at all. Just be your own brand. But you don't need the failed people from that previous brand to build your new one. You're doing well enough as it is. But there's also something else. I think Farage is very keen to take people that are more likely to toe the line and people that don't take the shine off him as well. So, for example, a Suella Braverman, she is not just going to toe the line because Farage tells her to. She's going to say what the hell she wants, and she does anyway. She often says what the hell she wants, and I like that. I like Suella Braverman. I think she would have been a fantastic MP to be in Reform UK as well, and she's very hard line on things. But she wouldn't toe the line, and she's a big personality, a big voice, and Farage doesn't want that. That's why you've got the likes of Jake Berry going in there that aren't going to say boo to a goose and are perfectly willing to just toe the line as long as they get a job in Parliament again. I think the same. Nadine Dorries is slightly different. She's got a bit more of a mouth on her. She's a bit more outspoken, but I think she's pretty willing to toe the line by the looks of it to me.
And don't forget with Naveen Doris, she's a follower. No, she followed Boris through thick and thin. She's a follower. She may be gobby, she may say things, but she's a follower. She's not a leader. Farage, we have to look at Farage's background to understand Farage. Was damaged by UKIP. He got kicked out of the party, basically. He lost the leadership, and he's making sure that never happens to me again. I'm on course to be Prime Minister, and Reform UK is run like a dictatorship. And that's because he wants to keep full control all the time because he lost control in UKIP and he's making sure that never happens again. Hence why no big names, no big beasts, nobody with a personality, nobody who won't do as they're told. And if you want to win, I understand that's a strategy. I understand what he's doing, but how do you run a political party like that? You may want to defend democracy, but surely you've got to practice it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what Nadine Dorris's plan was? I firmly believe this. She I reckon she did a deal with Boris Johnson, right? She spoke to Boris, I think. They're basically best mates, them two.
Mm.
She's so wedded to Boris Johnson. I bet she's got a picture of him on his wall and on a wall and all sorts. She will have spoken to Boris and said, right, I'm going to go to Reform UK. I'm going to speak to Nigel. You can get back into politics through
Mm.
Reform UK. That was never going to happen for the reasons we've just said. Boris Johnson was never going to be allowed in Reform
No.
UK. Far too much of a big voice, and actually still relatively popular throughout the country, albeit a
Mm.
terrible prime minister. So he was never going to be allowed in. That's why Nadine Dorries made her first gaffe within about half an hour of being introduced when she spoke about Farage and
Yeah.
Boris Johnson may be coming into Reform UK. Within half an hour, she was back out on the airwaves saying, "No, no, no, that was never going to happen. I never suggested that was going to happen." Like, yes, you did. That's
Yeah.
exactly what you just did. She thought she was getting Boris Johnson back into politics, and if she can't see that Boris Johnson was never going to be allowed anywhere near Reform UK, then I'm afraid she's not that good at
Mm.
politics after all.
I'm sure she said that knowing she'd get into trouble, knowing Farage wouldn't want it. But I'm sure she said that, hoping to start a chain reaction that couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, so Boris had to be brought into the fold.
You imagine all the supporters, all the members, we want Boris. And suddenly Farage going, I'm going to lose the party if I don't. I think she was hoping for a chain reaction, but I don't think she understands that outside of the Tory party, Boris Johnson's despised.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly don't know the current polling that he's on, but yeah, people are not going to accept Boris Johnson as Prime Minister ever again, and rightly so, by the way. I accept he had a bad hand. He got dealt a terrible hand, of course, but he was also an awful Prime Minister. The guy couldn't organise a piss up in the proverbial brewery, could he? But he's just likable, and he's a big voice. And would he have challenged Farage for the leadership of reform had he got in? Could Boris win another seat in Parliament? I think the answer to both those questions is yes. And he would have challenged Nigel Farage in the end. And you know what? I've got a bit of sympathy here with Farage. He doesn't want anybody to come in and spoil his chance of being PM, like what happened in UKIP. I mean, he was never going to be PM in UKIP, was he? But he didn't. He doesn't want anybody now to ruin his chances of getting to the head office that he's always been wanting to be at. And I kind of get that. I do understand it. You don't want anybody to come in and wreck your chances now. So
Yeah, of course.
I accept what you're saying. It's a dictatorship, but he wants this job and he doesn't want anybody to mess it up for him in the next couple of years. And I've got a bit of sympathy with that, to be honest with you.
Let's end on this. Tory party, is there any silver lining coming for the Tory party? Is there any good news coming? Or will it just be a continuation of irrelevance and maybe more defections?
I wouldn't be surprised to see more defections. We may even see the odd defection to the Lib Dems. Don't rule that out either, by the way. Um, Good news. I'm trying to think of anything. The only thing that Kemi's got going for it is the fact that Jenrick's running around doing quite well on social media. But that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because Jenrick's also doing it for his own political gains. He wants to be the next leader of the Tory party. I don't. I honestly, I don't see anything good coming for Kemi. I think she'll limp on till May, just like Starmer may do, limp on till May. I don't. I can't think of anything good that's coming for her. The only good thing, you're right. The what should be good for them is the swift demise of Labour, but it's not because no one's listening to her. She's not an inspiring figure. She reads from scripts. She doesn't think on her feet. No, sorry, I think the Tories are heading for another fall. And I don't think a change of leader is going to help them with that either. The next general election might be rock bottom. Then we'll see if they can rebuild from that.
Yeah, I think the next leader will be someone as poor as her. And I think the party will go, it must just be Kemi. Let's get a new leader. Then they realise, oh, they're just as bad. Is it our policies? Is it us? And I think maybe after that, they may get a decent leader, someone like Jenrick. Because
Once they've been wiped out, yeah.
yeah. Once more seats have gone, and they realise it wasn't just Kemi as an individual; it was the party. And yeah. I think like the country, I think the Tory party have to suffer more and hit rock bottom before they're willing to make the changes that need to be done. And the country's in exactly the same situation. I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet. I think it's coming fast, but I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet. And when we do, massive change will come. Same with the Tory party.
Well, you need those wets to be voted out, and then you can maybe rebuild a right of centre party again from the ashes, if you will. See if it happens or not. I don't know. I'll tell you what you said though. It's worth a few quid. That if you can, if anyone's a betting man, I would have a few quid on James Cleverly taking over from Kemi. I didn't think of it before, but I think that's nailed on.
I think he's the only person who's got some name recognition and face recognition. He's also
I wouldn't vote for him.
yeah, I would. He's also mixed race. That helps. And so yeah, I think he would be the next leader, but he would fail again. And then they would have to look at themselves and go, no, it's not the leaders, it's the policies or lack thereof. So maybe someone better then will take a chance after that. Ash, thanks so much for jumping on today. So in a nutshell, Kemi, more of the same, which is nothing.
Yeah, till May, I think. Then she'll be challenged. I think.
Right, I'll hold you to that because you're my lucky charm at the moment. Everything you're saying is coming true. And let's do this again soon.
Yeah. Cheers, Nick. Thanks very much.
Bye bye.